Hey folks, it's that time again. It's Wednesday afternoon, I believe, and it's time to do some more development. And we're going to start off with trying to get my mic set up properly because it's just not wanting to play ball. Anyway, right, so today we are going to start by making a new level, hopefully. And once we've got that done, I'm going to show you how basically I go about doing this. Okay, so in the first instance, for some reason I'll open this up. Right, and there's nothing there. Except there kinda is. Right, so we have our level here, right? But what we're going to do is we're going to delete these, and then I'm going to show you how I go about doing something like this. Right, so if I am doing this, normally what to do is use all the tools at your disposal. So type in random dungeon generator, and I'm not sure. Yeah, this will do. This is the one I've used before. Right, so what we say is basically medium. We can keep it whatever size we want. Right, we can say square or rectangle or whatever. Room layout, scattered, it's fine. We can do that. Don't know what polymorph rooms means. We'll not have that. That kind of gives us something more to work with. We'll say stairs at this point, no. That kind of might be useful. And that's looking okay. What we can do is we can do something like this, and then we can basically change things about a bit, but this will give us a general idea of a layout that we want. The room size is small. Right, that seems to be okay. So I would normally use something like this to basically do something like this, and then from there I would basically draw it and then amend it as necessary. So for example, I would join these parts up so that you could move between them, right? But I would keep the general kind of layout kind of the same. I would break up this part here. But with this program, what you can do then is construct the dungeon. Right? And we've got that. Right, now we aren't going to use up and downs, we are going to use the doors, we could use the traps, but fundamentally this is way too big, right? Oh, I've just changed it, darn it. Right, we could say layout that. Right, we can do that. Room size small. No. Door standard. Say basic. Corridors straight. All. Map style. That'll do. And construct that. Right, now we can take out rooms or add rooms or whatever, but this basically starts giving you some ideas to work on. So as I said, use the tools at your disposal and then amend them to your best use case, etc, etc. So basically what I would probably or possibly do here would be have a line shooting out here and then have that as the start point, right? Or possibly have this as the start point. Either one or the other. Okay? So just be aware of the tools that you've got. You can use the web, you can do various different things, and just basically play around with these things and get ideas. Right. In the meantime, I have been sent a new metal ball, which I was looking forward to implementing for you guys. So I'm going to show you how I do this and then set it all up with the code from our previous metal ball. Right, so I've basically been sent a RAR file, which I am then going to use Express Zip to extract it right? And next we're going to go to our traps, and we're going to create a folder, and we're going to say meshes, then we're going to go back to our death sphere. Now I've been sent these in two different ways, so I'm going to have to see what we want to do here. I don't know how to, we shall see what we end up with, put it that way. Import all. Right. So what we're going to do, that's a mesh, that's a mesh. Green ones are materials. So we're going to delete the materials. Then we're going to have a look at these. Right. So what we got here is the question. Alright, so we've got our sphere, and what is the difference here? It appears not a lot. So the combined one, we've got two sets basically. There's the non-combined and the combined, and it looks like whichever one we use isn't really going to matter. Now I've been sent two versions of this, so we're going to basically do the same thing but load up our second version and see how that looks. And this is the combined mesh version. Let's see if this is any different. Not really. Right. So this is fine. I'm happy with this. Right. This version 2 is basically the same as version 1 once you take out the unnecessary stuff. So if we take these ones out, in fact we'll cancel that just now, right? What we'll do is we'll go to our metal ball, we have a sphere which is a static mesh, and we're going to use this static mesh. Okay. Now we are going to zoom in on it a bit, and we're going to remove this cylinder. And our actual mesh, we're going to spin it 90 degrees, or in fact 270. Okay, possibly not. Okay. Why is the scale suddenly went to something else? Right, we'll put this back to 1, 1, 1. Right, now it looks to me like this isn't big enough. Now what we could do is we could re-import these, and what we want is to get a general idea of the size we want. That collision. Right, what we're going to do is we're going to undo that. We're going to refresh that. But what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at this in our actual map to see what kind of size it is. Okay, hi Roro is Chaos, how you doing? I'm guessing that you well, I don't know if you're, says 2 concurrent viewers, but I'm sure my usual crowd will enter at some point. Anyway, how are you today? Roro? Right. What we need to do is we need to see that looks about right. I'm guess okay, we're fine with that. Right, go back to viewport. Right. So the next thing we're going to do is delete that. And then we're going to add static mesh, and that's going to be saw 1. Okay. And I'm making a mess of this. Not to worry. So how are you today, Roro is Chaos? How are you? Right, so we're going to go to here, to meshes, then apparently we're going to get that. Then we're going to find out about our sphere, then Chrome. Okay, so we're going to say Chrome as a default. Ah, damn it. So on. So on. Okay. So that's minus 90. Okay. And I believe that's a bit big. So the question has to be, is this, I should really do this in we should really do this in wireframe. And then let's say front. And that looks about right. And then left. That looks about right. So if we go back to lit and then perspective, right, that kind of works. And then we're going to be duplicating that. And I'm guessing we want to use this one. Yeah. That looks okay to me. And now we need to go to the wireframe again and just check that it's aligned. And that's okay. That one's okay. And now if we go from the left, that looks okay, I think. Yeah. I think these are the wrong way around. I think these are the wrong way round. right? But we should be able to see them in here. And there's our blades. Okay. And the next thing we need to do is add a rotation, a rotating movement for saw 1. And then we add another one for saw 2. Okay. And now what we do is go back to perspective, change this back to lit. We are going to do something, by the way, with the textures. And it looks like this is a bit in. Okay. So our next thing we need to do, right? So at the moment, this is how they look, right? Ooh, they're a bit big. Right. So that's all cool, but that's not cool enough. And I can't exactly remember how to do this. But we basically have to tell it which component that we want it to actually affect, right? Get updated component. Right, so that's not it. Hi, Kiwi Mastermind. Give me a second, I'll show you, right? Set updated component, right? And we basically say saw 1. Okie dokie. Right, and then we get saw 2. We duplicate that. Then we get saw 2 in there. How are you this afternoon, Kiwi Mastermind? And we're going to set these up at the start. Oopsie doopsie. Right, so what we'll do is we'll drag this up here. We'll drag that to there. I've got a hell of a sticky mouse. Plus I'm not very good at using it. Because I'm old and stupid. But what we'll do is align that left, and of course it aligned to the wrong one, but never mind. So now we just need them to spin on the correct axis, right? Oh, I'm good. I'll be better once we get this working, the first part of it. The guy that does modeling for me is going to do the textures, even though I could do it myself in Substance Painter, but I'll see what he comes up with and discuss it with him. But I've got the general idea of this metal ball thing, even though I still think it's a bit big, but we can scale it down a bit. Right, so if I go to the viewport, simulation, okay, we are spinning on the wrong axis, so we'll do one at a time. And I believe because of the way it's set up, we want to spin on the X. We'll set it to 90 and save that and simulate, and there we go. Okay, so we'll have that going a bit faster at about 120, and then we'll set this one, reset that, then set that at minus 180 and go. Simulate. Okay. And we're going to do a bit more than that, don't worry, it's not that boring. But the point of what's going on here is that we've got traps, and these metal balls are going to basically cut your face open, okay? Which is cool. Now, what we're going to do is, in our event graph, when we start, let's say, the ball rolling, okay, so basically what's going to happen here, I'm going to move this out of the way because I'm not using this tracking thing anymore. Right, what we're wanting to happen is the ball rotates and faces the saws to the direction it's going to move, right? Then the next thing we do is we switch on orb. It's an orb, okay? It's not a ball, it's an orb. Right, so the orb turns to face the direction it's going to move. Then we're going to turn on the saws, right? And then it'll move to the place that it goes, and then it's going to stop the saws, okay? So the saws are only going to start rotating when it's moving. Okie doke. So we shall basically see how that moves, or how that works. Okay, so we need these two things, and can we deactivate? Yep, we can. Now, can I plug the two of these in, or do I need to do them individually? Okay, we'll try that. Okay, and then at the end basically we reactivate them again. So we're trying not to be lazy about this, that's the point. Activate. Okay. Right. So that's that done. And what we'll do now is oh, okay. These two, select them both and switch auto activate off so that they don't start up activated. And then press play. And that's not quite working the right way around, I don't think. Or do I well, it appears that activate and deactivate aren't actually doing jack. Unless, hey legend, how you doing, mate? I'm doing well. I kind of was doing a new level until I got my new orbs. I've got a funny feeling that this is kind of messing things up. So I'm basically going to do this to see if it works, and if not, I could basically switch the rotation to 0 and basically switch the rotation on and off, right, which would basically work. Right, I don't really want to do that. If I have to, I will, but it's a bit of coding that's just a pain in the butt. It's not difficult, but it just would be much easier if this worked by rotating than not. You'll see the point of the rotating orb in a minute. Okay, so we'll check this and see if it works. Right. Yeah, it's still not doing it. But it is pretty scary. Right. So, yeah. So our activate and deactivate ain't working now. I'm just wondering if there's some way of switching the rotation off. Right. We're going to go context sensitive here. Well, there's a stop movement immediately. Now, is this gonna... Can you start movement immediately? I mean, this would just be the same thing. Okay. Right, that's not... Kind of does do what I want it to do, but I'd be as well just setting the rotation to 0 and then resetting it back to whatever it is, right? Shall we do that, guys? Or do we just leave the thing running? Do we just let it constantly run? That's the question. Or do we set it to 0? Right? Answers on a postcard. Right, here we go. Right. Oh yeah. I set them both to not auto-activate, didn't I? Right, so back to auto-activate, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to make a heck of a lot of difference, to be honest, right? It's just nice to add the detail. Oh, it hit me. Right. Now, the one thing we do need to do is basically scale the whole thing down a bit. Right. So we're going to go with 1.5. Now, I'm going to set this back because I'm going to show you a little trick here, right? See if you set that lock, right? It's going to change them, all of these values, X, Y, and Z, to the same value or the same ratio of value, right? Ooh, that was close. But you can see, is that? I'm just wondering now if this is actually changing the size of these things. Yeah, it is. Now, what I should do is I should get the point light. I should put it directly in front of the blades so that the blades get basically shone on. And we should do it. Okay, so whoopsie doopsie, that's a bit on the big side. So I mean, if we do that, right, we don't really want it shining on the ball very much. Anyway, in fact, you know what? What I should do is basically have two of these point lights. Right, now we're going to change these down. Right. Then duplicate it and then move this one to here and don't have them crossing, right? So if you look here, yeah, I'm gonna have to press play here to make it work. Right, that's facing the wrong way. Go on, you turn around. Right, so that's cool. Right, so think what we'd do and what is the game project about exactly? Right, this is for Kiwi missions. We're going to load up our map. Okay. And then we're going to start on a new level, I think. Or at least update the one that we're doing. Right, so obviously this is the screen. You've got all your usual stuff, all works. Then play game. This takes us into our gateway level, which is basically where we select the levels from. Right, so we can select levels from here, and it gives us our present rating for that level. And basically it's 3D Pac-Man with traps and scary things. I think that's the easiest way to describe it. Or it's a backrooms game. Right, the first room, the first level doesn't have rooms. It's more of a claustrophobic corridor type scenario, right? Whereas the level I was showing you a minute ago is more of a rooms thing, right? But basically you've got to pick up all the stakes, and yeah. And you've got a certain amount of time to do this. You've got to break these. Right, there isn't an awful lot of traps and stuff in here. Still got to add that, but all works. No, the point lights aren't baked. The point lights aren't... Oh, there's a monster. But they can't break through the wood. No, let me explain. The point lights aren't baked because those point lights are not necessarily there. Okay, there's some procedural stuff going on that puts lights and pictures down and decals down and carpets down. All of that is procedurally generated, so you can't bake the point lights. So there's no baking going on here. Plus I change, if you notice, I change the lighting. Right? If you can see it, the lights actually change in intensity and their attenuation. Okay? So there we go. So that's a basic overview. And we have traps. We've got a flamethrower, we've got a spiky trap, we've got our metal balls, orbs, and I think we've got something else. Have we got something else? No, it's kind of hardly thinky traps because some of them don't really work, or some of the traps that you think of aren't really easy to implement in a game like this. For example, if you had a pit that you fell into, well, it's going to be more than that, because what you'd have to do is drop them into a pit and then have an exit to the pit, which would basically teleport them back to where they were, which kind of becomes a bit silly. No, Cybershell, as I said, the point lights are not baked. And good to see you. Right, so earlier on, when I first started the stream and I didn't have my orb models to play with, what I explained was I was going to make a new level, and the way I do it, or I use things like random dungeon generators to give me a general idea of maybe what I want to do, right? So you can basically use this to create a layout, and then you can basically either draw it or copy it step by step, or copy parts of it, or just basically build it and then make small adjustments to it depending on how you want to do things. Like, for example, say I was doing this, right? I would maybe add a door here so that you could do that, and then maybe add a door in here, maybe cut down on the size of these rooms or whatever, but generally keep the layout kind of the same. Have this as the entry, but it's obviously not going to be stairs, right? But yeah, so the point I was making with this was use all the tools at your disposal, right? So if there's something on the internet that's going to help you, that even if it's just to get a broad outline of what you're going to do, then use it, right? I'm sure there's other ones, right? This is one dungeon generator. I'm probably sure there's a million others, right? Ah, here we go. Right. Don't know how this one works. We're not going to do, right, we'll just say generate. Yeah. As I said, you can do this, you can just, right, like use this, and then just keep hitting, like, generate, and till you find something that you might find that you want to base a level on, and then just basically copy it and then expand on it, you know? That's what I do. You know, if there's tools, as I said, if there's tools at your disposal that are going to make it easy, then use it, right? I'm sure this would probably do the dungeon type. Maze. Did that, have I got to go to the bottom here or something? Have I got to go to the bottom to hit the generate button or whatever? Right, I don't know how this one works. Yeah, but I'm sure it will work. Right, is there another one? Let's see what this is. Right, width, that'll do, that'll do, that'll do. Grid size, small. Sparseness, sparse. Just click a few of them. Room width, 2x5. Yeah, that'll do. Generate concealed doors, 0. Secret doors, 0. Remove all dead ends. That'll do. Go for it. Right, so you could work with something like that. Randomness. Let's see what that does. But yeah, this is the type of thing that I do. I'll just use things from, you know, dungeon generators and that to work something out if I'm kind of struggling, you know. But yeah. But say we wanted to make a brand new dungeon, right? Or a brand new level. Basically all I do is go to here, and our first thing is going to be end. Okay, and normally what I'll do is I'll center it to 0, 0, 0. Right. And we'll spin it round. And then we shall move our player start into the right place. Okie dokie. So there we go. That'll do. Then we set this back to 50. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to do layout straight. Okay. Then we're going to have the wooden blocks. That was actually 170. We're going to have the wooden blocks facing out the way. We just join that up. And then basically we start making our level. Okay, but the first thing we're going to do with this is actually go into a room, right? So we are actually going to do that. Okay, and then we can do a room edge. And we're just about at the point where we can start doing some copying and pasting. Once we have a room edge and a room corner, basically. And that's going to go there. So now, if we were like doing a 3x3, right, all I would do was copy that, then basically go like that, And in fact, a 3 by 3 wouldn't even be that. It would be an edge here and an edge there, or a corner, which is actually I call an edge. No, I don't. I call it a corner because that's what it is, right? But basically, I would do that, right? And 180. Okay. So what we could do is we could delete that, and we could delete that. Then we could just basically have a 3 by 3, because the idea here is that I'm going to have like a central, this would be the central hub, and it's going to have like a door coming off each side. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. I've got an idea. Don't know if it's going to work, but we'll try it, right? And we're going to have a door. We spin that around. Then we're going to have another door. Then we're going to have another door. Okay. Then we're going to have a corner. Right. Then we're going to have another corner. Okay. And then finally, we have an empty. Right? Set the Z to 0. And then basically plonk it in the middle. Okay? And now we've got a room. So if we press play, okay, there's our room. Cool, huh? Now the interesting part here is if we go through here, okay, whatever. If we select this part, then we can turn this to minimap, and then this gives us a sign of how we get the minimap straight away, and it tells us how many actual pickups we've got, right? So I can keep track now quite easily of how many pickups I've got in this level, right? But then we can go back to our layout parts, and we don't even need to in that case, because what we can do is we can build out from here. Right, now if we're not sure if we're straight on or not, we just look inside, and if it looks straight then it is, because you can see it straight away if it's not right. Okay, so the easiest way to start on this is to basically, I don't know why I done that because it doesn't actually matter, but yeah, whatever. That gets us level there. That's looking good to me. Duplicate that again. Then we can spin it 90. Drag it out a bit. Right, and then we can just have a look, and that looks good to me. Okay. So you can see there that even just by doing that, we've added an extra few pickups. So now when we do our map, mini-map, we're now on 13 pickups already. Okay. And then the thing is here that what we could do is we could basically take a copy of this room, duplicate it, and basically move it to here. And there we go. We've got another room with 4 things. Right, now if we wanted to be awfully clever about this, we could move this along a bit. We could duplicate that, move this to here and make it slightly further away. Right, and then once again select all these, join this up, and there we go. Then we can press play. And we've now got 23 pickups, and this takes us into the room with next bit. Okay, so you can see how fast I can actually make a level. Right, now I could do that on the other side and that side and then start joining them all up, but I'm going to do that after we come back from a cigarette. I might make a cup of coffee as well. So while I'm away, guys, check out the description, hit the like and subscribe, and you'll also find links to Patreon, my previous game on Steam, and Discord. I shall be back in 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Oh, okay, guys, I am back. I've got my coffee. It's a bit cold. Anybody looking forward to the World Cup, or are we all kind of bored and think that it shouldn't really be in Qatar or whatever? It's not got a feeling of a World Cup, has it? It's usually in summer. Anybody got any tips on who they think's going to win, or why they're going to win, or is nobody into soccer, or as rational people call it, football? Right now, I did want a level like this actually. Not necessarily with the 3 doors to every room type thing, but I did want. Hi back, I'm Dad. Okay, so the thing here is, what I kind of wanted was like a room, interconnecting. Now, by football, I mean football. I don't mean chucky ball with your hand, or as I call it, American chucky ball. Right now, what I could do here is basically make another one of these, spin it round 90 degrees, and then have it no, chuck. Okay, let me explain. In Scottish parlance, chuck means throw. So it's throwy ball. American football is basically throwy ball. And you don't even do that properly because that's rugby. Protect the egg is rugby, right? Oh, that coffee's a bit hot. Right, so we can duplicate that again. And this is me getting very, very lazy by doing this. Right, but this is just like the start of the level. So after I've done these kind of rooms, then what I'll probably do is start going a bit off the rails as far as. So what do you think, guys? You think yeah, it's called chucky ball. What I'm thinking is to have this like hub type thing, right? And then basically have something off of this. Now, taking your idea into consideration for last night, Cybershell, we could implement a teleporting system into different parts of the map, right? But really what I wanted to do with the first couple of levels is keep it really, really simple, right? Because obviously you don't want to introduce that first map that I've got that's absolutely bonkers to be the first level that you do, right? You've got to implement these things as you go. So, hey Quasi Animation Studio, how you doing, bud? I had a look at your YouTube channel last night and it looks quite interesting, but unfortunately animation stuff is just not my wheelhouse at all. One might say that there's quite a lot of things that aren't my wheelhouse, but certainly that is one of them. Animation and doing blendery stuff and all that is, it's just not, I'm not very good at it. Now, when I say that, that isn't to say that I can't model stuff if I really, really need to, but it's just that it takes me like forever to do it. Like where somebody that was actually proficient would be able to do it in about an hour, it would take me about a week. And then even still theirs will be better than mine. Probably. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I subscribed as well. I'm not sure to I'm not I think maybe my subscriptions, you know. No, I always check out the people that subscribe to me and see if they've got anything interesting, you know. It's not that I don't find your stuff interesting, it's just like, number one, I'm not very good at arty stuff, and number two is I know it's going to, if I actually tried to do it, it would take me forever, and I don't want to go down that rocky path. Right, so now here all we do is we drop in a T-junction and we set that Z to 0. And then we can spin it around. Right, so no, but the idea of jumping from, like, having the teleporter to jump to, like, the easy way to describe this, right, would be if, for example, I waited on this doing its autosave, that before I click on a few things, is it's a good idea. Good ideas are good ideas, right? So I'm not averse to them. And it's also a good use of space within a level, because if I can place a level within a level, or part of a level in a different place, then that's all well and good. The lever thing, yes, but I'm not talking about using the lever. I could use a teleporter, right? Right, so say I had this bit here, okay? Now, if I actually added, let's just do it, shall we? Do the use case and test it. So if I go to here, right, and I say teleporter, right, and then I drag a teleporter in, okay? And then if I can get it to the right angle, right, and then if I can get, I'm going to have to change this for a second, bear with me guys, you'll see the effect this has. Right, that'll do. Right, now that is not connected to this, okay? But what I could do was put its twin in here and use that as a way to jump to this area. And it would mean that this area is not accessible unless you use the teleporter, right? Which adds another gameplay dynamic, which is cool. And I like cool things. I think everybody likes cool things in their game, and that actually adds a pretty nice dynamic. So now, right, I can run about my level, right? Now, the interesting part here is going to be, now remember, I'll be putting traps and balls and all that stuff, right? But the interesting thing from a gameplay style is that there's that level over there, but there's no way to get to it, right? You can see in the mini-map, there's no way to get to it, right? But, right, you can't really see it. But, if we go back to our teleporter, you can see that it shows us that place on the minimap, right? And rather than have the lever, I can just jump in here and go bang. And I'm in this room, but this room leads to nowhere at the moment, right? You can see that that's the bit over there, right? So, if the player sees this on the minimap, but doesn't see how he gets there, right? He's going to go, ah, how do I get over here? Right, because this isn't connected to anything. You see what I'm saying? And it's the teleporter that jumps you over to here. So you can force the player to use the teleporter. Right? So I'll show you more what I mean from the gameplay. Maybe you get it by now, but so what I mean by that is, if I do like a turn here, right? Ah, damn it. We're set at 5 again. So we'll set this to 4,000. Then we'll set this to minus 2,000, which shouldn't be too far away from where we want. Right, and then we'll press the completely wrong one. That's not the one we want. Right, I think this is it. Right, I'll drag that out so I know where we're going. Right, and that looks like the right place. So the point I'm trying to make here is right. Point I'm trying to make is if the player goes over here, right, and he goes up here, right, he's going to see that other part of the map, and he's going to think to himself, how did I get over there? Yeah? Or at least that's my thinking. Well, that's what I would think. Right, and he'd basically have to jump through here. I left the teleport, didn't I? Like a right idiot. Right. So yeah. So basically, if I jump through there, I'm now in this room. And there's no other way to reach this room than to actually reveal the teleporters. Or use a teleporter. Which I may not, probably not do in the first level, right? Again, it's one of those things. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to throw all your good stuff at the player in the first level to get them interested, but it's also a trade-off that you don't want them to see the whole game in the first level, right? So it's kind of like, where is the happy balance? But as you can see, right, you've got a way to see. If you remember rightly, this was so that the player doesn't jump into basically a trap, right? Right. So anyway, that was my idea. Rather than have the lever thing would be pretty much the same idea, right? Except, how would you do it, right? Let's have a think about this. Basically, what you could do that wouldn't work. I would have to have there's a couple of, actually to do it wouldn't make sense, Cybershell, right? Because basically in my game it checks the level for the number of pickups, right? And the number of pickups determines when you finish the level, right? So you've got to pick up all the pickups, right? But if pickups are behind a locked lever, then obviously you wouldn't be able to pick up all of the pickups, and therefore you couldn't actually finish the level. The easier way to do it is just to copy the base level and then add in then add to the level, right? So what if I wanted to add a second part to this level here, all I would do is copy this level and then add a second part to it. Right, now you could do it programmatically by saying that the level has a lever, right? And then you could stick a variable on all the parts, the layout parts, that basically says, am I behind the lever? In which case, don't count them. Don't count the pickups unless the lever is actually active. So you could do it that way, but it would be kind of just easier to just copy the level and then add to it. When I think about it, it'd be a lot less work, especially at this point, right? Maybe if you had designed it that way to start with, then it would be easier to implement, but then to go back and change every single part in the layout, it's going to be a pain in the ass. Plus the fact that you probably have to rebuild all the levels again, because basically if you add new code, chances are it might not get implemented in previous levels. So you'd have to make sure and check that everything was still working the way it should be. So I think in my case, it would be easier just to copy this, and then basically to implement what you're saying, I would just copy this level, right? Add a second part of it, and then just add a teleporter so that you can get to the second part of it, and it would basically do the same thing. You could have a lever, you could have a door that needs a lever, right? In fact, the lever's not a bad idea, right? As another way to block off certain sections. Right, or you could have a series of levers that you need to pull, and every single lever needs to be pulled before a certain door is opened. That's another way you could do something. You could obviously also in tandem with the teleporter, right? So you could still use the teleporter for this, but then you could have locked off parts of the dungeon as well. But at that point, the teleporter's kind of doing the same job. Unless it is kind of doing the same job, but it's not, depending on where you put a lever, I suppose. Because the teleporter obviously teleports you straight there, whereas a lever could be anywhere, and you basically need to retrace your tracks and go back to where the actual door that's locked is. You see what I'm saying? Well, yeah, it's something for me to think about as a possible addition. But yeah. It's a couple of interesting little points, put it that way. But from this you'll see right away we've already up to 52 pickups, right? Now, from what I was explaining last night, right? say I wanted to put something in this corner, right? Say I wanted to put a bookcase in here, and okay, let's not call it a bookcase, let's put tables and chairs, right? All I need to do is basically switch this off and say no pickup, right? And then I can either programmatically or just basically in the editor add tables and chairs, right? So if I basically get meshes, right, and basically I can do something like, I think these chairs need to be about 0.7 or something. I don't know what those eyes are supposed to actually represent. Right, so say I wanted to add a chair and a bookcase, right? Then all I need to do is basically is add this bookcase. And then line it up kind of better. That'll do. Right, and basically it is unlocked, so we'll say 0.75. That'll do it, which means that the chair has to be really 0.75 as well. Right, so that's us got our general sizes. Right, so now there's our chair and our bookcase. Okay, and you'll notice there's no pickup now that's getting in the way, there's nothing getting in the way of a pickup there, right? So basically all I need to do is remove the pickups from the map, and then I can basically place whatever I want inside there. Now I can do it with a whole room if I like, right? All I need to do is basically remove all the pickups from this room, if that's what I want to do. I've got this setting here, I'll just say none. And I can just set everything to none. None. And this gives me a really easy way to manipulate how a room looks in the end, because as I says, I can now just either programmatically or procedurally or whatever decorate this room, right? So now when I go into this room, you'll notice that there's no pickups. Well, there's one, but right, but I've removed all the pickups, so I could basically decorate this room how I want. Okay, and it's not going to mess up the player by blocking pickups or whatever. So this is kind of why I did it, so that you could do it in the editor, that you could, you know, select a pickup or remove it completely or whatever. And of course the total gets updated down the bottom there, so the total number of pickups that you need to pick up is obviously reduced. Okay. What's that doing there? Oh yeah, that's the bookcase, isn't it? Right. But again, I think putting like the bookcases around the edge isn't going to mess things up, right? But like sticking a chair in the middle or whatever like that is going to affect things, right? So as you can see, pickups would be about here, so that's fine. But yeah, that was my reasoning behind the, and I can obviously then I can place the mini maps and the stuns and all the rest of it where I want. Right, which is obviously quite handy. And we can just add these all back in again. We could actually select every single one of these and then just basically select speed for all of them. But hey ho. And that should be everything back, I believe. Yeah, as I said, that one doesn't get affected. I took this one out even though it actually wouldn't be affected by this, right? But you kind of don't want to take that risk. Right? But yeah. Right, is there anything else anybody wants to ask about or has any queries about or anything like that? Let me know and we'll try to answer the questions if we can. Right, anyway, if we duplicate that, did I duplicate that is the question. Oh, apparently I did. Ah, of course I did. It's because we're back to 5. Right. Right. So, as I said, we don't want this level to be too big. The way that I'll do this is, once I'm happy that this is like the first level, right, then I'll rename all of the different levels to something like 10, 11, 12 and 13, and then at that point I'll rename them all back to 1, 2 and 3 and stuff like that. I want a T-junction here. Or is it a T-junction is what I want, or is it... Yeah, probably. Right, so basically at this point we just let our imaginations run wild and see what we can come up with, and see if we're happy with a layout that we like or don't. Right, we'll do our T-junction there, and the point was that I wanted that and then that to there. And that isn't right. There's something not right here, guys. Something not right at all. Right. And that should be 2000. And that should be minus 2800. And that should be 200. And there we go. That's the other thing about making it round numbers, is you can quickly see if you've got an issue or not. Because if there's a number that isn't 2000, 3200 or something similar, you know something's went wrong somewhere. Okay, so what I would normally do under these circumstances, right, is I don't like doing this online because it's kind of crap. It's not the most well, maybe it is the most enjoyable thing to watch, I don't know. But I don't enjoy doing this online while I'm streaming. So what I normally do with this type of thing is I'll do the likes of this, right? And then I'll save it. And then I'll do some programming. And then I'll come back to it and do a little bit more and gradually do a little bit more until I'm happy with it. Right? I kind of don't sit there and do a whole level just on its own. Although I have done it in the past. Right? But I would just gradually build this up. And then kind of do it that way. But yeah. It's done, pretty much. Okay, so what have I got to do? I've got high scores to do offline if I decide to do it. I've got to do the levels. I've got some of the animations for when the monster attacks you. I've got the sort of blend out from dying to being back in the game. A fade in, fade out type thing with a lost life screen. That's that. I've got to add traps and stuff to the levels themselves, like basically just dropping them into the level. I've got some of the writing on the wall, the decals and the sound effects for that. One of the things I've got to do is the footstep sounds for the player, right, which I'm going to link to an animation blueprint once my modeler / animator, who was going to do me like so that you can see your arms basically, right? And then I would link that animation blueprint to the footsteps and then basically implement the same thing as I did yesterday, which is the physical material stuff. Do that, right? Think of a couple more traps. Then you've got the Steam integration, but I can't do the Steam integration until I get a license from Steam. And then yeah, just expanding on it, just talking to you guys. If you guys come up with a good idea as an inclusion into the game, then we add that in. Right? It's just letting people see it and seeing their thoughts or getting their thoughts on it. And if they have a good idea or a way to improve on the game itself, then yeah. And the other thing is then you've got to get people to play the game and find out 3D Pac-Man but scary. Right, that's my short and sweet description of the game. Right, the point is, right, I can show you exactly what the game is, right? You basically run around, avoid all the traps, avoid the monsters that aren't in this level yet, right? You've got to pick up all these pickups on the minimap, right? Once you've picked up all the pickups on the minimap, I'll let you see what happens. Probably easier on the other level, but anyway. Right, so you've got to do this, you've got to avoid all the monsters, right? Who can chase after you and kill you. Right? So you've got to do this all in certain time as well. Right? So you can't dilly-dally along the way. Right? So it's like a maze, but it's Pac-Man, but you can't really see the whole maze like you can in Pac-Man, right? But once I've picked up all of these pickups, I'll show you what happens, right? Right, we need another 8. So there's a room we've missed somewhere, or something we've missed somewhere. Okay, so obviously oh, I've not set a targets. I've not set target points. I'm a goofball, so this ain't gonna work. Right? But it shows me where I got to get out. Right? And I've got a certain amount of time to get out. So you can see the timer on the right hand side counting down. Right? And I'm not going to be able to get to here because I forgot to put target points in. Right? But that would basically be the end of the level. Right? But obviously there's not any, yeah, that's why I've got that error, because I didn't put any target points in for the end of level, right? But anyway, point being, that looks all very easy, but I didn't have any traps, I didn't have any monsters, and I know exactly how the level is built, right? So I can basically run around, but a player won't know any of that, right? They won't have an idea unless they've played the game a couple of times, in which case they're then going to trying to get a better time, right, and get a better rating. And you've got to get a certain level rating to progress into the next level of the game, right? So the easiest way to show you that is if I go back to the maps and load up map number 1. Now this is a tiny map and I use it just for testing, right? But it's going to give you an idea. Right, so if I press play, right, so obviously in this room I'm going to have to try and avoid the metal balls or they're going to hit me and kill me. Right, now obviously I'm not bothered about the metal balls right now because I'm under 0. Right, so I can't get to that. There it's there, right, got it. Now this would obviously be a trap, so that would slow you down, right? So when we do this, you can see here that we've got a point that we need to get to, right, which is this thing here, and then once we get there, we get a rating of 1. Right, and then we basically come out of here and that takes us back to our level selection, right? And that's weird because that's no longer giving us our rating. It must have overwritten our rating. Well, I can't tell you that, Kiwi Master. The strategy is not to get too close to them, or they'll jump on you and kill you. Right, but on that, if you've enjoyed the stream, hit like and subscribe. Thank you for your interaction, guys. Check the link links in the description for my Discord, which you're welcome to join. Also ways to support the channel on Patreon, where you can get your name in the credits for the game. You can also get early builds, or you can have a look at my previous game on Steam and add it to your wish list if you like. It doesn't cost anything. And thanks guys for watching. I shall see you tonight at 8 PM when I'll be back doing something more with this. And I shall see you guys later. Bye bye for now.